Why 99% of the dispatchers, they're broke in today's market? They have all the tools, DAT, truck stop, 123 load board, all the CRM, all the tools in the world, but it seems like they can't make money. Most of them, they're broke. Let me take you before the COVID. I was failing too. I had 4 trucks. I was in the flatbed market. I came from the car hauling into general market, thinking that I could make more money rather than moving cars. I had the best tools, the DAT, back then called the DAT Power, truck stop, 2 monitors, all the subscriptions. But my driver was stressed, unhappy, and I was not making money. I was struggling. What I was doing, what 99% of dispatchers today are doing, I was guessing most of the time, thinking how to build these lanes. And I didn't understand, like, what are those lanes even mean? How we can build those lanes. Imagine 4 trucks, no profit for months. The result, I was losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue. The shift came when I saw one of my friends who was running independent freight dispatching agency. He was making really good money. And I was like, what he's doing that I am missing? Maybe I don't know. I realized he's not just finding loads. They had a system and they were using the system to make money. I needed to know that strategy, and he taught me the strategy. So what's happening right now? Most dispatchers out there, they'll be like, I can't find loads. I can't find carriers. These carriers are closing doors on us. They don't want to talk to us. Dispatching doesn't feel like the right decision right now. Should we switch to something else? The current environment is brutally competitive for independent freight dispatchers and owner-operators and carriers. Simply trying harder and guessing doesn't work anymore. But before we jump into this, very important to understand there are 2 mindsets. Why the 1% wins regardless of the market. So 99% of the dispatchers, what they do is reactive guesswork. So the mindset is, where is the high paying loads today? They're looking at the load board and searching for that high paying load. So because of that mindset, and there is an action, obviously, they sit and wait for the loads to appear on their load boards right in front of them. And it's not happening. The method chases one of high-paying loads, most dispatchers do this, often into a dead zone. That means if I have a load in Atlanta, Georgia, and pays really good, and it delivers in Orlando, Florida, which is dead zone, not thinking if I go there and deliver and I can't find loads to go out of the Florida. So because of that, there is a result. Inconsistent revenue, high deadhead, constant stress, carriers leaving the dispatchers. So but what about the 1% of the dispatchers? They are doing what we call the intentional strategy. Well, obviously their mindset is, how does this load fit into my profitable weekly plan? Because of that, there is an action. Proactively positioning trucks in strong markets. If you're not using tools like market conditions and you're not positioning your truck strategically, you're losing. So the method these 1% of dispatchers are using stacks smart, consistent miles and builds repeatable systems. We'll be talking about those systems in this video. So what's the result? Predictable profit, minimal deadhead, and obviously broker relationships. Building a broker relationship is everything for carriers as well as dispatchers. So if that is the problem, then what's the solution? Stop chasing loads and start building loops. What is this loop strategy anyway? So loop strategy is a dispatching system that starts from home base, that means where your trucks are located, or your terminal, runs through multiple profitable cities and states and returns to exact same starting point. It's repeatable weekly circuit designed for maximum profit. So if you're using this strategy, there are 3 things happening. 1, you're reducing the deadhead. We keep the truck loaded and running all the time. The second is increased profitability. Basically, you're maximizing the carrier's revenue by stacking profitable legs. We'll be talking about those. So number 3, build consistency. By doing that, we will be creating a profitable business model for you and obviously for your carrier. So on the right, you see that Dispatchers randomly dispatching, looking at the load boards, book this load and that load. But the loop strategy, it starts, as we said already, from the home base. It goes from one point to another point, goes to a second point and third point, and returns back to the home terminal. So in this example, we have the home base Atlanta. So we go to Houston, we go to Dallas. We might go from Dallas back to Houston and back to home terminal, which is Atlanta. Some people get confused with the tri-haul. DAT introduced back in the days this system called a tri-haul. So what's the difference between loop strategy and a tri-haul? The main difference here, there's a proactive strategy and the reactive strategy. DAT tri-haul, what is it? A feature that suggests a third city to add to a single lane. Example, you go from Atlanta to Houston, it might show you saying that, hey, instead of going from Atlanta to Houston, go to Louisville, Kentucky, and deliver the load there, and then pick another load, and then go to Houston, Texas. By doing that, you will increase the profitability. So how it used? Obviously reactively. Why? Well, as you go to optimize a single trip. That is reactive. With this, we have the limitations, obviously. It's one-time suggestion, not a repeatable weekly plan. It will show you, for example, if I go from Birmingham, Alabama, goes to Charlotte, North Carolina, it might say that, hey, don't go from Birmingham, Alabama to Charlotte, North Carolina, go to Atlanta, Georgia, deliver, go to Charlotte. So based on the origin and destination, it will show you another leg that's saying, by doing this, you will be profitable. And because of that, it's not repeatable weekly plan. It just pops up here and there, basically. So when it comes to loop strategy, it's a complete multi-leg weekly route that designed so that you can control the plan. So how it used? Actually, we use them proactively. That means we plan in advance to strategically position our truck week after week, which is very important to understand this. It's repeatable. So what is the advantage? The loop strategy becomes your proprietary system for building long-term, predictable profit and broker relationship. If you implement the loop strategy, I'll be explaining in details in a minute, you'll be building not only best paying lanes, you also will be building good relationship or long-lasting relationship with your freight brokers. So let me give you an example. When I was dispatching back in the days, one of my friends showed me the golden triangle. Not many people know this. Very important to understand. So if you understand this rule, which is the golden triangle, you'll be making way more money with this. Just stay with me. So the golden triangle is basically identifying the nation's strongest freight hubs and you connect them. So the loop strategy goes like this. If we identified nation's strongest freight hubs, one of them is Chicago, the other one is Atlanta, Dallas, and it goes back to Chicago. So when we identify these three hubs, we just stay in it. And one of the reasons why it works and why it's so effective is because it has a strong outbound market in it. And obviously that gives you the consistent freight availability, good rates. Dispatchers can even use a tri-haul within the loop by adding smaller profitable legs. Example, adding Dayton, Ohio on the way back to Chicago. Very powerful. Now that you understand what loop strategy is, let's talk about how to build one. This is the exact same process. This will basically help you transforming your independent freight dispatching agency from being a reactive to become a strategic. And yes, it takes time and a little bit of an energy, a little bit of a planning, but this is the system that we're building. So once this system is built, it can be used for the rest of your career. So there are 4 steps. First one is anchor, second one connect, third one is test and track. Tracking is very important. If you can't track, you don't know your numbers, you can't build loop strategy. So then fourth one is lock and leverage. In order to build profitable loop strategy, very important to use data. Data is everything in trucking. So if you don't have data, you can use Google obviously to gather some information about inbound heavy states, outbound heavy states, load to truck ratio. But if you don't have that, you should have access to a load board. DAT has a market conditions tool, and market conditions tool available only at DAT 1 Select subscription level. I believe around $250 per month. So market conditions tool will help us identify those outbound heavy states and will help us get more information about load to truck ratio. That means we must know how many trucks out there and how many loads available per truck, load to truck ratio. Another way of gathering data, use your connections. That means use your brokers. You could be a dispatcher, you could be a carrier. Brokers list is goldmine in this business. If you don't have broker list, you have to start today. Add those brokers into your email list. Imagine you lose everything today. One email could save your business. So here's an example. I don't always start in Atlanta. Meaning, if the home terminal is Atlanta, maybe I will go to Birmingham, Alabama, because I have a broker. Her name is Rachel. Rachel, if you're watching this video, thank you. You're awesome. She has coils all the time. So if I can't find loads from Atlanta, Georgia, I will go to Birmingham, Alabama. I'll pick those coils and then I will deliver, let's say in Houston or Dallas, and then I will work between Dallas and Houston, then I'll come back to Atlanta, Georgia. So what's the main reason I'm doing this? Well, because I have a broker there and she has coils every single day for me and I know it. And she is in my email list. The relationship is my anchor. So step number 2, what we're doing here, we will be finding and connecting 2 to 3 profitable cities. So the goal is clear here. We will be identifying markets that connect locally from our anchor point and have a stronger outbound. It has stronger outbound potential, if you will. And then primary example will be, as I showed you already, from Atlanta, Georgia, go to Houston, Texas. From Houston, Texas, we'll be going to Dallas, Texas. From Dallas, we'll go to Oklahoma City. That's the circuit that we have. Avoid ending in a weak market. That means never let a high-paying load trap you in a dead zone. Example is a Florida, because dead zone is an inbound heavy state. So if you go there and plus it's already at the end of the week, that means your carrier will stay there for at least 3 days without load. So I'll give you an example. A broker offers a great money, let's say high-paying load that goes from Dallas to Miami, Florida. And dispatcher will be like, I'll take it, right? So now it's Friday, you're stuck in Florida. You delivered in Florida and it's already Friday and you have no outbound freight. Why? Well, because Florida is a dead zone, remember? And what's happening? You will be forcing your carrier to deadhead hundreds of miles. That means he has to go from Miami, Florida, to closest market, which is Atlanta, Georgia. And there is a deadhead. And your carrier will be losing a lot of money plus patience. Brokers know this trap and they will be using for their advantages. Never let them do that. So step number 3, test relentlessly and know your numbers. Very important. One of the main reasons why carriers fail in this business because they don't know their numbers. I'm guilty. I was carrier and I didn't know my numbers, and because of that I failed. So if you want to test me, call right now one of your carriers and ask him, what's your cost per mile or CPM? You will thank me later. They don't know their numbers. So run your potential loop for a few weeks or even months. So if you run once and you run second time, it'll be like, oh, I'm making a lot of money within this loop or the golden triangle. Well, in a couple of months, that golden triangle might become a trap for you. So the reason why is because of the spot market rates, right? It changes all the time. So you must establish a broker relationship and you wanted to understand the behavior within that loop. I know it sounds very, very complicated, but once you get up and running, everything becomes easy and you'll start making a lot of money. Track everything: miles, loaded and deadhead. That means empty miles, fuel costs, rates for every load, every week. See how these rates are changing. If you're not doing this, you're gambling. You're just guessing. And that's one of the reasons why you're not making money in trucking. So the critical metric here, obviously the average rate per mile. It's not about rate per mile. The game is average rate per mile. So imagine that average rate per mile 30-day average rate per mile. You also need to know what would be the 90-day rate per mile. You will see it will slightly change up or down. You need to watch that behavior. Very important. You must know your carrier's average rate per mile over the last 30 days and 90 days. If you don't, you can't make profitable decisions, period. And I'll give you an example. I asked one of the dispatchers and I said, what is your carrier's 90-day average rate per mile? And obviously he said, I think it's around like $3.70. That's what he said. Maybe close to $4, something like that. Very vague average response, if you will. What he was doing, obviously, he was guessing. He didn't know that number. If you're guessing, you're leaving thousands of dollars on the table. Because trucking, it's not a guesswork. It's all about planning, communication, numbers, and relationship. Step number 4, lock in your loop and leverage your consistency. Consistency is the keyword here. So once you test it and your loop is constantly profitable, what you need to do, you need to make it a default weekly plan. So what that means is that stop searching the entire load board. What you need to do, you need to focus on mastering this lane. When it comes to leverage, this is how you leverage it. Your action here, calling your brokers. Remember, email lists? Brokers' email list is goldmine in this business. Here is what's happening. You'll be calling your brokers and saying, hey, I run Atlanta to Houston to Dallas every single week. So they must know, what do you have for me? So obviously the result is brokers will be sending loads before those loads hitting the load board. And this is, my friend, how you get access to high-paying loads. Brokers will start calling you because they know you're reliable and you're always in their lane. I know it's complicated. Bear with me. I'll be putting everything together in this slide, and I promise it will make sense. And actually, it is very easy to implement. The hardest part here is the researching aspect. So if you have the researching done, everything becomes easy. Let's have a carrier. Carrier, in our example, he has a drive-in. His home base is Atlanta. We have a load from Atlanta that goes to Dallas, Texas, about 800 miles. And this broker pays $2.20. So then we pick a load from Atlanta, we deliver in Dallas, Texas. Once we deliver in Dallas, Texas, we have another load that goes to Memphis, Tennessee. But wait, why we're not going from Dallas back to Atlanta? Well, because from Dallas to Memphis, it's actually higher rate per mile than returning directly to Atlanta, which is around $1.50. That's one of the reasons why we're not going back from Dallas back to Atlanta. Instead, we're going Memphis, Tennessee. Why? Well, because it pays $2.10 per mile, and total miles is around 450. From there, we deliver that load in Memphis, and we get load from Memphis, Tennessee, and we deliver in Atlanta. Miles around 400, and the rate is $2.40. Why? Well, because shorter runs often pay more. So let's compile these numbers. The weekly totals, total miles, 1,650. Approximate revenue, we have 3,630. Average rate per mile is $2.20. Yes, this isn't home run, but it's all about consistency in running profitable week. Very important to understand. By doing this, you're not losing money. Your carrier not losing money. This is how you survive down market and thrive in any market. So the ultimate goal for this video, for you to understand that it's not about chasing high-paying loads, it's stacking smart loads. So the mind shift here, you need to shift in focus. That means you need to stop thinking for the magic load that will change your week. You need to start building a consistent system that makes every week profitable. So the key insight for everything that we talked about in this video, the loop strategy becomes your leverage. It allows you to transform wasted deadhead miles into profitable miles, loaded miles. And this is, my friend, how you control your business, your carrier's business, instead of letting the market control or destroy your business. So the message is this: the more you plan, the less you guess. Because a strategic plan will always outperform reactive guesswork. A lot of dispatchers do this. They're guessing. Instead, use this 4-step framework to build your own profitable loops, develop deep broker relationships, and create a dispatching business that thrives in any market conditions.